Hello everyone, this is Christy from Get Smart Spelling, and here's the link to my Etsy shop if you want to go check out any of the products that I have that are making spelling easier for children. Today in this video I'm going to go over ending spelling patterns and how they are an easier way to teach and learn spelling. But before I do that, let's go over 6 reasons why spelling isn't easy to teach or learn. And I do apologize, but I'm probably going to have to break this video up into 2 or possibly 3 videos. The first time I filmed it, it ended up being way too long and the audio got corrupted. So first, let's go over why spelling isn't easy to teach or learn. The first reason is that sounds can be spelled more than one way. Example, there are 8 different letter combinations that are used to spell the long A sound in words. And I've got them listed here. So there's 8 different ways. That means when you go to spell words, you can use 8 different letter combinations to make that long A that you hear in the syllable of the word. There are also 8 different letter combinations that are used to spell the long E sound in words. And here I've got them typed out. You can see there's 8 different ways. And here's some example words that use those ways. I've got it underlined, each letter combination. Okay. There are 6 different ways to spell the long I sound, and there's also 6 different ways, or 6 different letter combinations you can use to spell the long O sound in words. Then there are 5 different ways you can spell the long U sound in words. If you total all that up, it's going to total up to 27 different ways to spell just the long vowel sounds which you hear in the syllables of words. So I'm not going to go back through these and list them and give example words because I think you see my point here. What I'm trying to say is that sounds can be spelled many different ways, and this can be confusing. And not on top of that, but you have to try to remember specifically which letters to use for every single word that you are trying to spell for the vowel sounds that make those words, or for the sounds that those words make. This one aspect of spelling was very frustrating for my children who have an auditory processing disorder, and they also have trouble transferring information from their short-term memory to the long-term memory. They process information slower. So spelling has been very frustrating for both of my children. My daughter's now in college. She's still not a great speller, and over the years trying to help her and now trying to homeschool my son, I just kept thinking there's got to be an easier way to teach spelling. It's just so confusing. It doesn't make sense. And I can understand why it didn't make sense. Like for this example here, my son just could not seem to understand why it's done this way. Okay, he thinks we should just pick out one way to spell the long A sound and use that one way in all words that have the long A syllable in them. And I agree with him. That would make spelling so much easier if for each of the long vowel sounds we would just pick out, one specific way to spell that sound. And then you don't have to remember in all these different words the different letter combinations and which word uses which of these letter combinations. Unfortunately, spelling is not done that way. The English language is made up of several different languages combined, and that's why words can be so hard to learn how to read and spell them. Now, reason number 2, the exact same letter combination, or the exact same letter combinations can represent more than one sound. And here's a perfect example. The letters O-U-G-H, when used together, can all make a different sound. So let's say these words out loud, and let's hear the different sound each one makes. Cough, rough, through, though, enough. Out of these 5 words that use the O-U-G-H, only 2 of them, rough and enough, make the same sound with those 4 letters. Another example is the word said and the word paid. They use the same letters at the end of them, but sound different when you pronounce the words. So the AID in said and the AID in paid make 2 different sounds. In fact, the word paid actually rhymes with the word made, which is spelled A-D-E, not A-I-D. So these 2 words, paid and made, do make the same sound at the end of them, but they use different letters to make that same sound. This is why sometimes words that aren't spelled the same way will rhyme with one another. This is also why sometimes trying to spell words using a rhyming word isn't always going to work. Reason 3, many words, including some sight words, cannot be spelled using sounds. This is because they aren't spelled the way they sound or pronounced when you say the word. So they are words that just have to be memorized. Example, the word said, S-A-I-D, is not spelled S-E-D, even though it rhymes with bed, fed, led. My son still wants to spell it sometimes as S-E-D. Another example from my son's spelling is the word put. Like you put P-U-T, put. You put something up or you put something down on the table. It rhymes with the word foot. So my son constantly spells it as P-O-O-T. Okay. The 4th reason that spelling can be difficult to teach and learn is that some words contain silent letters in them. And here's some example words: answer, honor, knife, thumb, lamb, ghost, wreck, right, wrote. This was another part of spelling that was confusing to my son. He just didn't understand why we still put the silent letter in the word if it doesn't make a sound when you say the word. That just didn't make any sense to him, so it was confusing. Now, I did finally think of a cute little story, that I kind of turned into a little lesson about silent letters. I put it into my Get Smart Spelling book, along with several other stories to help explain some of the tricky parts of spelling. Here's the first book in the Get Smart Spelling book series. And if your child goes through all 3 books, they'll learn how to spell over 1,500 words. They actually will learn to spell close to 1,600 words. So, back to why spelling is difficult. Number 5, some spelling rules have several words that are exceptions to the rule. This means that those words are going to be ones that just have to be memorized. Example, let's use the silent E rule as an example. It has 2 parts to it. The first part deals with adding suffixes that begin with a vowel letter. You're going to drop the E before adding a suffix that begins with a vowel letter. Example, likable and completing. Both of those base words have an E at the end of them, but you have to drop it before you add the suffix that begins with a vowel letter. The exceptions, the words that are exceptions to this rule are dyeing, like you're dyeing fabric, canoeing, hoeing, mileage, acreage, noticeable, changeable, outrageous, courageous. Those are just a few words that are exceptions. Here's 3 more words that are all exceptions to this above rule. They all end in a silent letter E, but their spelling totally changes when adding the suffix ing. Die plus ing becomes dying. Tie plus ing becomes tying. Lie plus ing becomes lying. So the I and the E get dropped on these 3 words before you add ing. And in fact, the IE actually gets changed to the letter Y on all 3 of these words. All right, part 2. You keep the silent letter E before adding a suffix that begins with a consonant letter. Example, likeness and completely. The suffix here, NESS and LY, begin with consonant letters, so you keep that E. But of course, there are a few words that are exceptions to that rule. And here they are. truly, argument, ninth, judgment, holy, acknowledgement. So this example shows why memorizing all the spelling rules and their exception words may still not help you tremendously when it comes to spelling. Plus, it would be a lot to try to remember. The only spelling rule that I was taught and I actually remember is the I before C rule, and it also has some words that are exceptions to that rule. I don't remember those words, but I know that there are some exception words. So the odds of you being able to remember all of your spelling rules and all of the exception words is going to be very slim, especially as we age and our memory, tends to fade. All right, reason 6, word lists are sometimes more confusing than helpful. The way words are grouped together on traditional spelling lists can be confusing since they often will try to teach children all of the ways to spell a long or short vowel sound. This can be confusing and too much information all at once for some children. It was for my children. Okay, they got confused. It was confusing. It wasn't, the words weren't grouped in a way that they could easily learn them. It just was, they were grouped in a way that was confusing. And here's an example. Here's a traditional type spelling word list, which teaches 6 different ways that the long O can be spelled in words, which is O, O-A, O-E, E-W, O-W, O-consonant letter E. So here's the words on this long O spelling word list. Cold, toe, those, snow, road, whole, most, open, toe, close, hope, awoke, only, boat, so, goes, go, low. Although they do all have the long O sound in all of them, very few of them have the same spelling pattern. In other words, very few of them use the same letter combination pattern to spell the long O sound. Okay, so that's a lot to try to remember. They've got to remember all of the different ways to spell the long O sound, and then they've got to remember which words are going to use that letter combination. They've got to remember that toe uses the OE to make the long O sound. And cold uses the O consonant letter E letter combination to make the old sound. And boat uses the OA letter combination to make that long O sound. So this was just confusing to my children. This was too much for them to try to remember. Now let's take a look at a spelling word list where the words on the list do actually share an ending spelling pattern. This is how I had to do this for my son. I had to make him his own spelling word list, which I'll explain in a minute, or I may explain on the next video. Now here's an ending spelling pattern word list where the words are grouped together by an ending spelling pattern. Go, a go, they both use the single O to make the O sound. Boat, coat, they both have O-A-T at the end of them. If they can learn that ending spelling pattern, O-A-T, oat, they only have to put a B or C in front to make those two words. Does and goes. Notice that those two words don't rhyme, but they both share the O-E-S ending spelling pattern. So the child just has to remember to put D or G in front of that O-E-S ending spelling pattern. Hope, rope, cost, most, almost, close, those, broke, spoke. Some of these words rhyme, but some of them don't. However, you have at least 2 words on this list that share the same ending spelling pattern. You'll have 2 words that have O-K-E at the end, 2 words that have O-S-E at the end. You have 3 words here that have O-S-T at the end. This has been an easier way for my son to learn spelling. This method is working when nothing else that we have tried has worked. And we have tried a lot of spelling programs, great spelling programs, ones that were online. We've tried spelling workbooks. We've tried spelling apps on our iPad. We've tried different spelling programs that were in a book format. Nothing seems to work. He cannot seem to remember the words long term. He can pass the spelling test each week, but the words don't transfer over in his long-term memory. So I had to change how I was teaching him spelling and make him do some hands-on activities that I came up with. And then he writes the words too. And then we also use some very unique flashcards that I made. Here's a quick peek at them. And these two-tone flashcards seem to help him really see the spelling pattern. It's in green. Green is my son's favorite color. So that's why I did them in green. And notice that if we got to a word that had a previously learned ending spelling pattern, it was underlined here. Okay? Doing it this way helps to remind the child of the ending spelling pattern they previously learned. And also it shows them how learning ending spelling patterns can help them spell longer and more difficult words easily. Okay? So, I think if you compare these two lists that I just showed you of the long O spelling word list compared to an ending spelling pattern word list, that they have all these words have O in them. Some make the short sound of O, some make the long sound of O. I just think this one right here, the ending spelling pattern word list, wins hands down when it comes to being an easier list of words to learn. All right, and using an ending spelling pattern method has, as I said, it's made spelling so much easier to learn and remember for my son. Now, let me point something out. Not only is this an easier way to teach and learn spelling, but it also eliminates the need to learn all of the different letter combinations that make those vowel sounds. The kids don't have to learn all that and try to remember it. And that also eliminates trying to learn all the spelling rules and the words that are exceptions to those rules. So those are two good reasons right there why you should consider using this ending spelling pattern method. Okay, I'm about to end this video because it's already gotten on close to 20 minutes. And if it's any longer, it's not going to work. It's not going to upload correctly. Here's one of my child's spelling word list that we're working on. This is a list of words that will be on a word list in book 2, which I'm currently working on. But see, this is just a sample list. Now, in my next video, I'm going to show you step by step using a bunch of different words how the ending spelling patterns make it not only easier to teach and learn spelling, but how they can help children spell the longer and more difficult words: government, concentrate, demand, island, action, direction, existence, suggest, practice. So stay tuned for my next video.